Thunder Bay's longest-serving city manager has announced that he'll retire later this year. Good evening and thank you for joining us. A big announcement at last night's City Council meeting. City Manager Norm Gale revealed that he'll retire at the end of June. Gale has served in the role for the past 8 years. There's no word yet who will take over the job. City Hall reporter Vasilios Bellos is following the story and joins us live in studio with the details. Vasilios.
Thanks, Riley. Gale's dedicated 40 years of his career to public service, 33 of which were with the City of Thunder Bay. The outgoing city manager says he'll still be committed to the role until he officially steps down in June, pointing to the 2024 budget process set to kick off this month. Thunder Bay's longest-serving city manager is calling it a career.
Thank you, and let's keep working hard.
City Manager Norm Gale made the surprise announcement to begin Monday's City Council meeting that he'd be retiring effective at the end of June. It was Council's first meeting of the new year. Gale served in the role for the past 8 years and faced some unprecedented challenges, including the COVID-19 pandemic in which he led the city's emergency response team.
It was hard work. It had to be done quickly. It had to be done with often little knowledge, little context, little evidence. That didn't just apply to us, of course. It applied to basically everybody.
In total, Gale dedicated 40 years of his career to public service, the past 33 of which were with the City of Thunder Bay. The outgoing city manager spoke about one of his highlights over that time, being working with those dedicated to improving Thunder Bay.
That includes elected officials. It includes the leaders at the executive management team and other leaders in the corporation, and the people who work for Thunder Bay, who deliver programs and services that people rely on, that they demand, and that they need. This is really important work, and it's where I get my jam, is working with these people.
He's very gentlemanly about it and very professional, so we thank him for his service.
Mayor Ken Boshkoff spoke many kind words about Gale, thanking him for his dedication to the city. With Boshkoff's newly acquired strong mayor powers, though, he has the ability to hire the next city manager on his own. Boshkoff says while the news is fresh, the community can still expect a status quo hiring process.
It's something I haven't thought about implementing, and I would prefer to go through the normal process, which everybody is comfortable with, and I'm sure that we'll be able to find someone without having to resort to strong mayor.
While Gale has announced his retirement, he stresses there's still much work to be done before the end of his tenure. That, of course, includes the 2024 budget process, which begins this month, amongst some other big items expected before the end of June. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
City Council will reconsider a prior decision not to join on the province's red light camera program. All 12 councillors in attendance last night voted to take another look at the issue. The last term of council decided the program was too expensive, but many around the table now believe cameras at a number of intersections could generate revenue. If a vehicle runs a red light, the camera would snap a picture of the license plate and send the owner a ticket. Red River councillor Michael Cicino brought the program back to council for consideration to counter what he sees as bad driving habits.
5 new people, and maybe the tone has changed. So that's so you got to at least see what the vibe is in the room and proceed from there. So yeah, I see traffic and just in general as being an issue in our city. You look at Red River Road and all the traffic calming, on Algoma, all the traffic calming. Lots of conversations about that.
Drivers ticketed under the program wouldn't face any demerit points or penalties aside from the fine. City staff will now bring back a report outlining potential costs, revenue, and a timeline for implementation. The number of city councillors in Thunder Bay, how much they're paid, and who they represent is all up for debate. The Council Composition Review Committee met again today to discuss the potential changes, with public input a top priority. Lee Noonan has the story.
On Monday, the city is launching a survey asking local residents how they engage with their elected representatives and whether they'd like to see any changes to the makeup of city council. The survey was devised by the Council Composition Review Committee and will be available online and in person through various pop-ups throughout the city.
Are we going to have a at-large? Are we going to have a continuation of both, wards and at-large? Are we going to have a deputy mayor? What are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And by the way, how many counselors are we going to have?
Longtime former city councilor Rebecca Johnson is chairing the 6-person citizen committee, which has roughly a year to come up with a recommendation. It's been nearly 40 years since the current system was put in place. Johnson says it's a generational opportunity to help shape local democracy, and it's crucial their recommendation represents all citizens.
To me, the community have to decide what they want. Like, how do they want to, when they go to vote for their mayor and council, what does that look like? Is it going to stay the same? I don't think it is.
Committee member Heather McLeod acknowledges that there are limits to who will actually respond to a survey, with invisible barriers preventing many from engaging.
This affects all of us, not just those of us who can make our way through those invisible barriers. And we as a committee have talked a few times about how do we get to everybody? How do we get everybody seeing themselves as part of this decision?
The survey is the first opportunity for the public to weigh in, but it won't be the last. At their next meeting, the committee will be looking at hosting a town hall and planning focus groups with various demographics.
But it's not just going to be the survey results that we're going on, because it is the conversations we have. So the more we can spark those conversations and broaden who we have them with, the better the information will bring to our decisions.
The committee plans to engage directly with groups including former city councilors, Indigenous people, newcomers, older adults, and youth.
If there is a group that is out there that we are not mentioning for whatever reason, and they feel that they need to be heard, I would really like to hear who they are.
The survey will be open for 3 weeks, with the committee looking at the results and planning out their next phase of consultations at their February meeting. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Charges have been laid in connection to a serious Oliver Road collision back in November. It left 3 people in hospital. 2 of them are still there, facing life-altering injuries. The collision saw a pickup truck and a sedan collide head-on. Both vehicles were seriously damaged, and an engine block wound up in the front yard of a nearby home. Police say the 2 occupants of the pickup are still in hospital, facing a long road to recovery. The driver of the sedan, a 29-year-old Thunder Bay man, faces multiple impaired driving charges and dangerous driving causing bodily harm. The accused has been released from custody with a future court date. Thunder Bay Police Staff Sergeant Michael Dimony made his first court appearance today. The officer was first charged in December after a 2-year OPP investigation. Dimony has been named in multiple human rights complaints filed against the police force in recent years. He was charged with 2 counts of assault involving separate incidents and victims in 2014 and 2016. He's also facing charges of breach of trust and obstruction of justice, stemming from an incident in 2020. The charges have yet to be proven in court. The matter was adjourned to February 19th. An environmental group is pushing the province to open up an existing Southern Ontario highway to more truck traffic. It's part of a campaign to stop the construction of a new highway. CTV's Siobhan Morris explains.
It's a promise so important to progressive Conservatives, the Premier launched his re-election campaign with it in 2022.
Once this gets built, once we build Highway 413...
A proposed 60-kilometer highway through Peel, Halton and York regions. The government says it's vital. Opponents, though...
The 413 is an unnecessary highway.
Advocacy group Environmental Defense has launched a social media and radio campaign to poke holes in the plan and offer an alternative.
Travel times are long and something needs to change. But Premier Ford's Highway 413 won't help drivers stuck in traffic.
Instead, the group wants to divert trucks from Highway 401 to the tolled 407 by using taxpayer cash to cover those trips.
The main reason that trucks don't use the 407 is because it costs them more money. So if the government paid that tab instead, it would cost $4 billion over 30 years.
Instead of the estimated $10 billion or more to build Highway 413. The Green Party leader is on board with covering truckers' tolls. He floated a similar plan in the last election.
It makes absolutely no sense to spend over $10 billion on a highway that's only going to save people 30 to 60 seconds when we have a highway that's already built, that's underutilized.
So there's room to push trucks onto the toll highway.
It would get between 10,000 and 20,000 trucks off the 401, which is going to make, the 401 better for everybody else. It saves truckers 80 minutes on that drive.
And advocates argue wipes out a need for environmental damage.
Highway 413 would pave over 2,000 acres of prime farmland, 400 acres of the Greenbelt, destroy 85 waterways.
The idea of covering tolls is a non-starter for the government. A spokesperson for the Minister of Transportation says they need to add capacity. If they don't, the 407 itself will be at or over capacity in less than a decade. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The Regional Food Distribution Association has wrapped up another year, and 2023 certainly wasn't without challenges. The skyrocketing price of food, along with increased need for its services, forced the organization to adapt to survive. Mitchell Ringos reports.
Just running this warehouse costs us about 44% more than it did the year before.
Rising food prices almost brought the Regional Food Distribution Association to the point of shutting down late last year. Executive Director Volker Krom says it wasn't only those added costs that caused challenges, but the significant jump in community demand.
We're finding people have become, because of the food prices, have become very dependent on going to meal programs. You know, the soup kitchens in the city are busy, are humming. We're finding the same thing, is we can't keep the shelves stocked.
To counteract the problems they faced, Crom says they had to make a big shift in terms of where they get their food, as with buying now a last-ditch option. Crom says they put their focus on converting food, working with wholesalers and rescuing more food with creative options, but does say their mindset needs to change going forward.
We have to become business-like or business-minded so we can find better ways of buying. And so far the local retailers have been really great with us, but there's a limit. And so if we have to go any further beyond Thunder Bay and the region, we're going to have to hit some really great pricing.
As for what's in stock, Crom says they will soon be dipping into the Feed Ontario donations, which will only last until the end of March. Crom says going forward, anything will help, including funding donations, so they can hopefully hire more staff.
We've short-staffed ourselves to be able to keep the doors open. And it is donations. If we can see it coming through the door, please don't hesitate to take the top 10 products and donate to our door. Don't forget, people have to eat 365 days of the year. It's not just at Christmas time.
Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Local leaders made their way to police headquarters today for a Crim Stoppers flag-raising ceremony. The occasion highlighted the importance of the service while marking January as Crim Stoppers Month. The service allows the public to anonymously provide tips to police. Since its inception, Crim Stoppers has received over 18,000 tips, leading to 3,100 arrests and over 1,000 cleared cases. Chair Soleide Nichols says even though they're happy to have a month dedicated to Crim Stoppers, it's a year-round initiative.
Well, from the onset when Crim Stoppers started, it was the media and the citizen of the community. So it's like a three-legged stool. You take one out, the two cannot stand. So when you put those three together, the stool can stand. So that's what Crim Stopper is all about. It's the involvement of the community.
Nichols says they do need more funding in order to be successful this year, with the service always accepting donations. All right, we'll turn into weather now. Mitch, it was a little bit of a dreary day out there for two reasons. We saw not much sun, we saw a little bit of snow, and it's your last weather.
It is my last weather shift. I guess I'm announcing it now that I will be leaving TBT in the near future. I still work on Friday and Saturday, so I'll give you more details later in the week. But for my last weather shift, I better be doing a good cast throughout. Today, we did see some snow on the way, so hopefully everyone has their winter tires on and ready to go. Temperatures still fairly warm, only around -4, feeling like -7, and the wind wasn't playing too much of a factor throughout the day. It was fairly calm, so not bringing those northwest winds down, bringing everything a little bit cooler, and the low was down to around -7. Now, there is some snow making its way in the region. Currently, it's farther south, so we could see some of that here in Thunder Bay as the system starts to push farther northeast and could bring some significant snow here to the region and Thunder Bay as well. Temperatures, they're going to cool down in Red Lake area at -14. They could see a little bit of snow making its way in, while in Fort Frances, still fairly cold as well at -9 with just some clouds that are pushing farther further east, but most of the snow is sitting around Sault Ste. Marie in the Thunder Bay area. Sault Ste. Marie down to -1 tonight, so if the temperature's a little bit warmer, they could see some rain as well, while Greenstone, they're going to be sitting at -7. Now, as we head to tonight, temperatures, they're dropping down to -10, feeling like -14. We could see more flurries as well. A couple centimeters could accumulate overnight, and the wind is going to pick up from the north to around 20 kilometers an hour. But even though there's a little bit of snow making its way tonight, there could be more coming in the rest of the week.
Right, Mitch. Well, we asked for snow, and it just seems like it just keeps coming now.
I know.
It's just not stopping.
We didn't have enough, so it's just, here's all at once.
All at once, exactly. Okay, thank you so much, Mitch. Well, turning to national news. Since that terrifying incident with Alaskan Airlines where a piece of the airplane flew off mid-air, another airline is reporting something similar. Well, those details for you as your news hour returns.
Weren't there at all.